Metroid is a fun franchise with one of the greatest female protagonists ever made and acts as the mother of the great Metroidvania genre. Before dying to savage beast fly over and over again, players were dying to a giant Godzilla monster named Kraid. But since I'm an Alpha Pro podcaster who sees women as lesser beings, dying to Kraid isn't fast enough. So I took it upon myself to see how fast I can eradicate this voluptuous,
lonely space vixen.
But to ensure she really does go away for good and my God King Smashmain Ridley can run free, I'll be speedrunning Death Percent in every Metroid game, just like I did with these other beloved mascots. Starting with the game that started the entire Metroidvania genre, Metroid on NES. This game is infamously difficult, which is great for my nefarious purposes. After spawning in with that classic jingle, this intimidating galactic hero of a bounty hunter dies to a couple of Zoomers asking if she has games on her suit. Jumping forward in time 18 years, we reach the remake of Metroid 1 and the best 2D Metroid game in the series, Metroid Zero Mission. My crazy opinions strike again. This remake is far superior to the original, with gorgeous sprite work, fantastic updated controls, an entire epilogue debuting Zero Suit Samus, and the inclusion of the speed booster, plus the crazy puzzles you have to solve with it. Oh, and most importantly, an actual in-game map. Before we can kill off Samus though, we have an unskippable cutscene to watch before doing the exact same thing as the original, with Samus unable to handle Zoomer humor on TikTok and unaliving herself. Now it's back to the past with Metroid 2. A game about mass genocide that I have no desire to play, at least not the original version. Thankfully my time here is short, since the second room in the game has a creature flying around to hit before encountering the dreaded Hornode that Samus concussively rams against, allowing Metroids to live on and terrorize the universe. Jumping back to the future yet again to Samus Returns, an awesome remake of Metroid 2 on the 3DS that I still have the pre-order bonuses for. Unlike Metroid 2, Samus Returns has a lore recap of galactic happenings to mash through, sorry Moses, maybe another time, before a cutscene of Samus landing on SR-388 ready to commit war crimes. But just like before, I run to the right and die to the Hornode again like the legendary hero I totally am. Now for the big one, the one everyone praises for being the greatest Metroid game in the world and the cornerstone of Metroidvanias, Super Metroid. And honestly, the praise is deserved because it's a gorgeous game with perfect atmosphere and great sound design. But all I care about right now is Samus ceasing to exist. I sit through the intro cutscene of Samus reminiscing about
the baby.
No, we'll get to you later, wait your turn, and her successful delivery of it before being immediately called back to the station. I pull off a small speedrunning trick falling past these platforms, no joke this took me like 17 tries to do, and run through rooms pumping my arm cannon, gaslighting myself into thinking it makes me go faster. I run through the iconic death room, how a SNES game has a better horror atmosphere than literal $1 million AAA games today I will never know, and then find
the baby.
My beloved skewer master Ridley makes his only appearance in any of these runs, and I let him beat up Samus until he mode 7s us and the self-destruct sequence starts. And Samus, obviously traumatized by the return of Ridley and unable to do anything, just sits there until the space colony not arc explodes and it's game over. But before moving on, you might think this is kind of anticlimactic for supposedly the best Metroid game in the entire series, and so did I. I was curious to see if escaping and dying on Zebes would be faster than the countdown, but it's not. Even in a task run where everything is frame perfect, Samus would only be reaching planet Zebes by the time the timer runs out. And making matters worse, no enemies spawn on the planet until you collect both the Morph Ball and the missiles, then go back up the elevator where the Zebesians will finally spawn in. So it's down with the ship for us. Nintendo skipped the N64, so it's on to Metroid Fusion for the GBA. A much more linear game in the series, but that's okay because the SAX is the most terrifying creature Metroid has ever come up with, well at least until Dread, and basically the thing from the thing. For this game, I impatiently wait for the opening cutscene where Samus kills the dreaded Hornode again, but in its fiery revenge after death it turns into a parasitic blob that gives Samus space aids. But thankfully after some surgery and some Metroid DNA, she's fine. Now at the floating potato in space, the game actually begins with Adam the computer, and most controversial part of the game, telling Samus to investigate the storage room, do some platforming, and what do we find but another Hornode to take us out. No SAX required. Good luck surviving the X-Parasite universe. And now it's time for Metroid Prime. This game's sublime on the cube where it shines. You haven't played it? Well, that's a crime, and now I'm all out of rhymes. But honestly, this game was such a perfect segue for Metroid entering 3D, it's almost unbelievable. But how fast can we vaporize Samus? After starting and getting a line of text, we can surprisingly skip the cutscene entirely and go straight into the action. But for some reason, Space Pirates decided to abide Galactic OSHA standards and I can't jump into the void. Instead, I have to play the game a bit to find something else to hurt me, which went a little something like this. Right after loading in, I quickly hit the first 4 buttons, which took way too long for me to get right, scan a control box from afar to appear right next to it after a brief cutscene showing me 6 more buttons that took even longer for me to get right, jump up the step and head towards the door in Warp Ball mode, which is faster than walking. Before the second door opens, I exit ball mode so I can scan the control box in the next hall, walk through the unlocked door, shoot the next door before going back into ball mode. Then I roll into a larger room with a burning corpse in the middle, roll into the fire as quickly as I can until Samus explodes. Simple, right? It may sound easy, but to a novice speedrunner like me, it took nearly 2 hours to optimize. But hey, I'm just grateful I didn't have to use— You thought I'd be satisfied with only the GameCube version? No, friends. If I want to be thorough, then I need to see if motion controls would be faster. Spoiler alert, it wasn't. And not because I suck at motion controls. No, for some really bizarre reason in the Trilogy version, I can't skip the intro cutscene at all. No idea why Nintendo made this change.
Hi, post-editing Andy here. I found out that in the Trilogy version you can skip the intro cutscenes, but you have to beat the game first. So that's why I couldn't skip them.
Anyways, after the unskippable cutscene comes the dreaded motion controls. Now, a pro player could pull this off lightning fast, but I'm not coordinated enough or good enough, so it takes me several tries to shoot the buttons at a decent speed. Then it's Morph Ball time, and the game gives us the amazing addition of the sacred Morph Ball hop that allows me to stay a speedy ball even longer. And the doors open much faster than the GameCube version, so I can zoom through the halls much like before, hop over the rails towards the fire, and Samus boils alive again. Technically speaking, this death was faster than the original if I started the timer right when I gained control of Samus, but because I start the timer right when I hit New Game Start, I have to live with this being slower. But even that's not enough Metroid Prime, because what about the Switch remaster? I played this version with all 4 different control schemes to see which would be the fastest, and long story short, after several hours it didn't even matter, because for some bizarre reason, Nintendo still won't let me skip the intro cutscenes.
Post-editing Andy again, this time the intro was actually intentionally unskippable.
But on a positive note, they made the fire reach way closer to the ramp leading to the corpse, so I could just jump straight into the fire right when I entered the room. Now that the prodigal daughter of Metroid Prime is finally done, I can move on to its edgy, emo, harder, and way better younger sister sequel, Echoes.
You can't keep getting away with it!
The game that introduced beam ammo, an absolutely banger theme for multiplayer, and literally the 2 hardest bosses in the entire series. GameCube Hard Mode Boost Ball Guardian is the nightmare I will never forgive. You suck too. But funnily enough, killing Samus in this game is way faster and easier than the first, because after skipping the cutscene of Samus crashing on Ike's Up special, yes, I can skip the cutscenes yet again in this game, there are no enemies around, but Samus' ship is on fire. So I jump backwards and slightly to the left to let Samus enjoy a lethal fire bath. And as for the Trilogy version, yet again, bafflingly, I'm not allowed to skip the intro cutscene again. But weirdly enough, subsequent death attempts do let me skip after the intro text, making me question Nintendo's decisions even more. Anyways, after the cutscene ends, I hold the lock-on button so the aiming doesn't mess with my backwards jump trajectory, and let Samus imitate Sephiroth yet again. Now it's time for Metroid Prime Pinball, because that's the spin-off all great franchises need. I thought this would be over instantly, but there's a protective lightning barrier for babies that bounces Samus away from the dead zone. It goes away after about 30 seconds, so I cradle the Morph Ball like a little baby with the flipper until the barrier goes away and she explodes into dust far more violently than I expected. And yes, I did it 2 more times to get the real game over. Okay, now we can move on to Metroid Prime Hunters. Metroid Prime Hunters on DS. A game that I remember playing the demo for all the time when I first got a DS as a teen, and featured a lot of super cool new bounty hunters like Glub Crapo, turned main antagonist Psylux, great to see ya buddy, and the absolute beast Weevil, who I played in multiplayer because he'd split and leave a turret behind to kill other players. But despite the charming nostalgic DS visuals, gameplay wise I was worried since this game heavily features the touchscreen for aiming and doing pretty much everything but shoot. But after several trials and errors, I finally got the good run where I shot, skipped, boosted, and scanned at breakneck pace before reaching a room full of drones who shoot Samus as I try to jump into them, and then hearing the most terrifying Bit Crush Samus scream in the series. And now we can get to Metroid Prime, no interruptions, 3. Metroid Prime 3 Corruption. Out of all the Metroid Prime games, this one had me the most worried about how long it would take to kill Samus. Mostly because the start of the game has Samus walking around a Galactic Federation spaceship, going to meetings, doing tutorials, and seeing my main man and absolute coolest Giga Chad, Rundus. I love that guy. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. The game starts yet again with a text scroll that glitches out, and we see Dark Samus emerge from a Phazon capsule. Cut to Samus jump scare of her waking up in her ship being cradled by the sins of her past, and it's time for more motion controls, baby. I push some buttons, enter a code, and have to physically push the thrusters forward before landing in the Galactic Federation ship Olympus. When Samus comes out, some soldiers tell me to whore, as a short gameplay tutorial disguised as gun calibration. From here I'm supposed to go to the briefing room, but in case you didn't notice, the force field preventing me from falling into the void doesn't extend past where the troopers were standing, so I go to the right and start jumping into space, receiving 5 points of damage each time. But we can go faster. By using a morph ball speedrunning technique, Samus can get past the barrier before it even goes up and immediately fall into space. Then if you fell far enough away, Samus will respawn to the left of where the troopers are, and I can continuously jump into the void until dying without having to shoot the balls or work for the galactic dogs again. Oh, and fun fact, while experimenting with how to die faster, I found out when you leave the room and go back, it'll reload without the barrier around the landing pad, and I could constantly fall to my demise while the troopers just watched. Obviously slower, but still an interesting tidbit. Brace yourselves, kids. It's time to witness a character assassination with Metroid Other M, the game that turned Samus into a bland, whining, monotone, PTSD-ridden, submissive, baby-crazy worker drone who refuses to do anything unless Daddy Adam says so. It's a game trying so hard to be creepy with so many unrelenting cutscenes that I describe it as the worst B-rate horror movie ever with bits of railroaded gameplay in between. Which is sad because some of the gameplay aspects had really interesting ideas like jumping on enemies for a crit, or dodging just in time and instantly charging your weapon, but then also had the clunky stationary first-person gimmick for missiles and Ridley as an evil Furby, so it justifies me wanting to destroy Samus as fast as possible. So we start the game and surprise, surprise, there's a super long unskippable cutscene of the end of Super Metroid where
the baby
dies before cutting to Samus waking up again, having a monologue about
the baby
and being thrown into a tutorial room. Holographic enemies and lasers do spawn, but they can't physically hurt or damage Samus, which is really annoying. So I run through the trials as fast as possible before more cutscenes and arriving at the research station the game takes place in. A little more walking straight into a shaky cam cutscene where Samus meets her old military academy buddies, including Anthony Higgs, one of the best Metroid characters ever and the one NPC that matters in this game. Anthony Higgs for Smash 6, let's go. More trivial crap, Samus's monotone monologue, and Adam being a mega hater before Samus decides not to use any of her weapons unless Daddy Commander says so. Samus, you don't even work for the guy. Why are you doing what he says? He has no jurisdiction over you. Act like the lawless, cool bounty hunter we know you are and stand up for yourself. Ugh, so out of rage and frustration, I just let the Rio push her off a bridge and happily speed up the process of her soul being removed permanently. Never playing this garbage again. That's not true. I'll probably find a reason to play it again, but whatever, I'm done here. Having learned from the mistakes of yore, Samus's character goes from assassinated to revived stronger than ever in Metroid Dread. My gosh, this game is a masterpiece, with Samus back to being the baddie battle-axe she always was. Unafraid of anything she sees and ready to throw hands with Ravenbeak, literally the coolest antagonist in the series. Refer to this video my brother and I made for more gushing about this game, because right now I need to focus on killing Samus faster than Ravenbeak can. First, we have an unskippable lore recap about Metroid Fusion, since a lot of the important plot points of that game are super important to this game too.
That's disgusting.
But then we do get to skip the cutscene of Samus arriving on the planet, being told by Adam it's not worth it, and running into Ravenbeak, who just straight up shoots her with no warning. This is awesome. Anyways, once we gain control, it's just as simple as Samus Returns was. Move to the right, run into a monster with weird cordyceps growing out of its back, and die. Goes even faster in hard mode too. I know I don't have Dread mode unlocked, shut up. But still, no Metroid DNA for you, Ravenbeak. Then again, the Emmys could probably get it from her dead corpse. Oh well. It's been a long journey of ups and downs, but after 18 long years of waiting, it's finally time for the moment we've all been waiting for. Metroid Prime 4 Beyond is finally out and ready to be played. The game that was teased at E3 2017 over 8 freaking years ago. But before I can truly delve into this game and discover every mystery it has, I have my own cynical mission to accomplish. I start by skipping the opening cutscene, which it's astonishing I can do that at all, stupid Prime Remaster, and it's a shame because the intro is actually incredible and feels very Star Fox assaulty. Then we skip another cutscene of Samus landing and exiting her ship and are greeted with a battlefield at a Galactic Federation post, including a burning wreckage a few feet away. How nice of the game developers to make this just for me so I can burn Samus to death with it. I use the boost ball to quickly reach the flames and find a nice cozy nook to roll into until Samus dies of heatstroke, unable to save the galaxy from the wrath of Silex. But now I don't have to deal with the quippy Marvel movie character and destroyer of atmosphere Miles McKill-yourself, so who really is the winner here? And there you have it, Samus dying in every Metroid game as fast as possible, or at least as fast as my skill set would allow. Thank you so much for watching yet another assassination speedrun of your favorite gaming characters. Not sure what my next one will be, but we'll figure something out. Please like the video, subscribe, share this with the one person in your life who's also a Metroid fan, and consider watching my other 2 Death Percent videos. Okay, that's all the time I've got. I gotta get back to playing Metroid Prime 4 on my Nintendo Switch. Bye-bye!